Charles Leclerc is quite optimistic about the upcoming season, and while 2024 didn't really treat him that fairly amid the Red Bull downfall due to the awful streak from Montreal to Hungary, the Monegasque driver has his hopes very high for the upcoming campaign. Obviously, the biggest hurdle here would be Lewis Hamilton and the fact that he'll be eager to secure the 8th championship on his first try. But with two competitive drivers, could Ferrari bring themselves back to the top of the game? And if so, will Leclerc be the first champion since Raikkonen for the Maranello squad? One of the biggest ups and downs throughout 2024 belongs to Ferrari, and while we hoped that they would be right here if Red Bull were to drop the ball, it turned out that they were outperformed by McLaren and occasionally Mercedes, which is why they're now in a no man's land. As they are fighting for P2 in the Constructors' Championship, Leclerc is holding very tight at the third spot in the drivers' category, and even with 2 race wins behind his name, he is still not satisfied with how this season unfolded, and rightfully so. There have been a lot of lost points from Montreal to Hungary, which would have put Leclerc much closer to the championship fight, but nevertheless the focus is now on 2025 and on the brand new team that Ferrari has assembled for then. When talking about the championship fight, while having Lewis as his teammate, Leclerc was quite confident that his team has what it takes in order to secure the championship in the drivers' category, something they've been waiting on ever since 2007, as he added, "Every season that we go into, we always think about and target the title. That is what Ferrari should target, and I believe that we are working very well as a team. Competition is very tough and they are very strong. McLaren, especially in the second part of this season, have been impressive, but we are understanding quite a lot of things. We are seeing quite a lot of gains. We just need time to bring those in the form of upgrades on the car. The regulations will remain more or less the same for the upcoming season as well, but what is more than certain is that Ferrari have been able to learn a lot from this and the previous campaigns when it comes to the car's behaviour, and they are now ready to implement it all on the 2025 Challenger. Throughout 2024, we've seen a lot of teams struggling with implementing the upgrades on their cars and then seeing an improvement in the performance, which is the primary issue as to why we have ongoing battles in both of the championships. Red Bull and Mercedes have faced a similar issue, but Ferrari is the first team that has come across this hurdle, as the floor they brought to Spain was supposed to bring them 2 to 3 tenths of performance, when it effectively put them behind Mercedes and McLaren while chasing Red Bull, and this was the start of the reconstruction process back in Maranello. The high point came in Monza, where Leclerc was able to orchestrate a majestic win on a one-stopper, while Sainz finished 4th on the same strategy, and in Baku the Ferrari driver was also very close to taking the win from Piastri, something that caused a lot of controversy due to the mini DRS trick of the MCL 38. But that's all now in the past, and while Leclerc and Ferrari will give their everything to fight for as much as they can in 2025, the realistic goal is to be second in the Constructors' Championship, unless something abysmal happens to McLaren and they could target P1 as well. The goal is now for 2025, and as you already know, a big obstacle would be the fact that Hamilton joins the team, and if you have a 7-time world champion as your teammate, it would then put a lot of pressure on your shoulders. But according to Fred Vasseur, Leclerc knew about the opportunity that Ferrari was presented with, and he made it clear that there is no problem from his side, amid talks that the team didn't listen to their star driver and went on to complete things on their own. Fred Vasseur has spoken about this duo that will form from 2025 onwards, and the Frenchman believes that it's the perfect combination for a winning formula, despite all of the negative narratives surrounding the potential toxicity and intra-team tensions from these two. Furthermore, Fred said, "Leclerc was never arrogant about this situation. He always worked hard. Sometimes he's made mistakes, but that is part of his growth process. Leclerc was always on board to sign Hamilton, and that pushed me to make it happen. It's important to have a common vision. Of course, you can't expect drivers to be friends, but they must push in the same direction. It's important to have an intelligent driver." But what Fred believes is that that these two drivers would have to have an extremely good relationship off the track as well, apart from talking about the issues of the car, because that is the only way Ferrari can bring themselves back to the top. Adding further to this matter, the Frenchman said, "I think it's essential to have a good relationship, not just talk about understeer or other issues, but this is a passion, and being balanced and having a good environment around you is crucial for good results, and I believe Shah understands this. I also think that competition between drivers helps the team grow, and the one between Carlos and Shah is immense in this regard." Now, the primary question that Ferrari needs to answer for 2025 is whether or not team orders would be applied in a situation where they would be needed, because we are talking about two of the best drivers being paired in the same team. A dream coming true for Ferrari in terms of returning back to the top step of the championship. However, as Vasseur pointed out, the competitiveness and tension should be expected at the highest possible level, but to hop on the radio and tell Leclerc or Hamilton that the race is driven for the other one would be a bitter pill to swallow for each of these drivers, which could cause further trouble in paradise. A potential problem that Hamilton could meet in the first season with Ferrari is the adaptation, as almost everyone who will work with there will be a brand new member for him, with the exception of Serra and D'Ambrosio, who he already knows from Mercedes. Of course, a vast amount of engineers have come along with these two to the Maranello camp, but be that as it may, it's still a new situation that the seven-time world champion would have to adapt to, and all of this could make it a very tough first season that might turn into an avalanche into the new era that starts in 2026. Matteo Binotto has also spoken about Ferrari's choice to sign Hamilton as their driver in the future, as the Swiss, who is now the COO of Audi, has admitted that during his time he wouldn't have made this decision and he wouldn't have thought of bringing Hamilton to Ferrari. When being asked as to why, Binotto said, "I wouldn't have signed Lewis because Ferrari had focused on other drivers, and if the talent is Leclerc, I think he is the one who should be accompanied to the objective in some way." Fred was able to continue the project under the sign of continuity. He did not revolutionize a structured and functional organization. He also made his own choices, but I repeat, if Ferrari wins, I am happy because I know the team and I know how much effort has been made to bring it to a certain level. Even Sainz was left flabbergasted by this statement of Binotto of not signing Lewis if he had the opportunity, and he is the driver who is effectively being replaced by the seven-time world champion as we speak. Obviously, the pressure on Vasseur and Ferrari for 2025 is really high, but having the drivers he has on board is something that gives him the perfect opportunity to return to the winning ways one way or another. Of course, the risk of blood boiling will always be there, but at the end of the day, that's how champions are made, and that is how drivers are understanding what it takes to be the best one on the grid. Many of them said that the first driver you want to beat on the grid is your teammate, and in Ferrari, we will be able to look at this from quite a new perspective from 2025 onwards. So whether or not it would be Leclerc or Hamilton who will reach the first championship for the team in almost 2 decades, time will tell. With all this in mind, do you think that Ferrari can compete for the championship in the upcoming campaign? And if so, which driver do you think will prevail victorious? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and once you've done that, have a look at the video that's appearing on your screen right now.